Welcome, guys. Welcome to my first day of the week. This is gonna be a segment or kind of a news, and at the same time, type of masterclass channel and day where we're gonna not only learn chess, but we will also find out about news. Hello. So welcome everyone. I'm really hoping you enjoyed this. Today we're gonna be talking about what happened in the world of chess last week. That way you guys get a good update about some of the best players in the world, but not only the results, but also the games that they play. So I went through a lot of games and I picked some of the coolest ones, and we're gonna start in St. Louis with the victory of Jeffrey Sean. He won the St. Louis Winter Classic A. They've been doing this tournament for a long time. It's an incredible tournament, and the organizer, the St. Louis Chess Club, does an amazing job of bringing some of the best players, not only the best players, but the most talented players in the world. And he won the last one. So this just happened last week, and I wanted to go over two possibly the key games of that made him win the tournament. At the 2600 level, it's extremely hard to win with black, and that is and he won not just one game but two games out of the, I think, 9 or 10 games that they play. So that's pretty impressive, because you don't beat a 2600 guy with black that easy, and he did. So we're gonna start with this game that, opening wise, was very interesting to me. It looked like at the beginning it looked like a boring position for black. It seems like black is playing the orthodox defense, nothing promising yet. And then knight c3 was played, and as usual you go bishop e7 and castle, and this position is very solid. Well, that didn't happen in this game, and Jeffrey obviously was trying to go for a win. And again, congrats to Jeffrey Sean, I forgot to say that, for winning this awesome tournament. And he went for this line that I personally never seen it, never studied it before. It looks very dangerous, very complicated. Basically, the main reason why this could get very dangerous is because you're giving up the space with the move e4, and this is in basics one of the biggest ideas of the Queen's Gambit. You give up the c4 pawn so that you can get the center, and then you can get it back later with a very nice development and of course a better position. So white is taking the pawn, and this is the biggest idea of this position, and white is very complex, and it creates this weird position where now, okay, what are you gonna do? I'm trying to take the pawn on e4 if you take the pawn on b5. So this would not really work for white, because okay, you get the pawn back, but then now you lost your space. So black has no really big issues here, because on top of that, you also have an isolated pawn, which makes the position very tough. So after e5 was played, instead of knight takes b5, it seems like white is getting the pawn back, and then this guy here is weak. So black goes knight d5, knight takes b5, and of course, because this guy is weak, you want to protect it. So far so good. The pawn is protected, but it's also isolated and weak, so black has to be very careful here not to lose this pawn and have nothing after all. So bishop e2. I don't really know the theory here specifically. Maybe there are better ways to play where white can be a little more aggressive on going for this pawn, but it's not that easy neither, because then I can kick you, or I can play c5. The position is very tricky. Hi, Gani Dormali. That's fine. You guys can write if you want, but that's fine. It's no problem. In fact, I'm gonna be asking questions as I go. Once we get to the critical positions, I want you to guys think and maybe put up some moves there. yeah, that you guys also have some interaction while I'm doing the commentary. So it's not all gonna be pure lecture. I'm gonna have some stop moments where I thought that those were the key moments of the game, and I want you guys to think so that you get some calculation on it too. So anyway, this was so far so good. Bishop e2. You guys can talk, no worries. Do your thing. So bishop e7, and so far, well, it seems like black is castling short, and white has a little more space. At the same time, black has a very good square on d5. And this is one of the things I really liked about this idea of Jeffrey playing this defense, where, you know what, I'm gonna put my bishop on b7. I'm gonna go my knight to c6, maybe to b4, and I definitely have some very interesting plans there, right? So when the castle, knight c6, so far so good, nothing. And now he made this Victor Erdos, he made this funny move, queen d2. I'm not a big fan of this move, but the basic idea is that when you have that much space on one side, you still need the queen. So if you, let's say, can teleport this queen to g4, that position is a lot more aggressive for white than it is when the queen is on d1. So that's kind of the idea of this move, queen d2, is to get the queen to f4, then queen g4. So again, I'm gonna go fairly quick on this ones because these are kind of developing moves. He keeps going with development. Now, one thing that is important here is that black is not defining the castle yet. So black is not defining the castle yet, which makes the position very, very interesting, because I can basically castle long or castle short. I want to wait to see what's happening on this side before I make that decision. I want to make sure that my king is safe here, or whatever it is. So white goes queen f4, and now I want you to think for a couple of seconds here, and I want you to think about what would you play, what would you do? Would you castle long? Would you castle short? Would you do something else? Because this is, to me, one of the most important moments of the game. Jeffrey made an important decision here, and I want you to just take a couple of, maybe 30 seconds and think about that. What would you play? So anyway, you could definitely castle short. There's nothing wrong with castle short, and maybe also castle long. That could be also a good move. Either way is okay. I think black can play this position and compensate. Maybe h6. That's interesting. We play some maybe g5. That could be. The thing is that black is trying to compensate for this pawn weakness. If white gets to develop, white is way better because of the pawn structure. So black is trying to punish the fact that this guy here is not well developed. So black plays the move g5 exclamation mark, and the thing with g5 is that it's actually not that good, but when you use a computer, but it's very interesting, especially when you're playing a human being. So why is g5 such a good move? Well, because if you take the pawn, which is actually what happened in the game, then black gets a very interesting initiative on this pawn. You notice the g2 pawn is indirectly attacked by the bishop and by the rook. So with this position now, black is doing well. I'm also playing g4 if you let me, and so he is supposedly the best move was queen g3, and that was not playing the game, and that position is better for white. Because you can play h5, but then I take the pawn with the bishop, and that's kind of the idea, no? Is to take with the bishop. That way, if you take with the bishop, now I develop my bishop, and I didn't have to waste time moving my queen like you will see later. So that would have been better, and maybe black would have played h6, and that position would have been another game. But he instead did knight takes g5, and now bishop takes knight, because you want a castle. Queen takes, you cannot castle yet, but then this is the key move here, knight e7. Such a beautiful move, the score attack. not only attacking the knight, but also, as you can see, putting the pressure on the G8 and the G file. And now black, why is in some type of trouble here? Because how are you gonna stop that? I'm doing rook G8, taking the G2 pawn, and I'm taking the knight. If you move the knight, do this. The only move is D5. That I'm not sure if I'm pretty sure this guy saw this because he has to, otherwise you're lost. And now the problem is that rook G8. Well, queen takes knight doesn't really work because pawn takes pawn, so that's not an option. And rook G8 doesn't really do anything other than, well, maybe I can also take here. No, that won't work. Yeah, maybe I can also take here. The thing is that now I'm having this check on H5, and that is a bomb. So black played knight BD5. So now black got the pawn back already, and as you can see, the pressure, it is still there. And in fact, in this game, this G file was the reason why Jeffrey won that the game. So pawn A4 protecting the knight. Then now rook G8 makes sense. Now you gotta watch out. Don't move the queen to a random place like this, or anywhere where this knight can do a discover attack, because you might get destroyed completely, right? This rook takes G2. So he goes queen D2, queen H5. It would be horrible. So queen D2, and now let's kick the knight. Knight D4, long castle. So finally, black finished development. It's really weird, but how are you gonna use the fact that this king is technically on a weird position? Well, there's not really a way to do that. It's very hard because you don't have development. White has a bishop on C1, and you cannot really place the rooks on the C file. So it's very hard. Maybe a good plan could be something like that, but then I can always block you with a pawn like C3. For example, a move like this, I can play C3, and then I block you, so I don't let your rook come in, and maybe then I can do moves like rook takes G2, knight E3. This should be very bad for black, for white as well, because this the pressure. So F3 makes sense. This move makes a lot of sense. You're blocking the bishop. You're blocking the bishop on G2, from pointing to G2, and now this rook takes G2 idea, it's not working anymore. So you need to find another piece here, and that's exactly what Jeffrey did. He's trying to go for knight F4, and doing the same thing he was doing before. He's trying to get the pawn on G2, and bishop takes C4. This guy took, which was a little bit risky, and now C5. Try and move the knight from the protection of this pawn. This is the idea, right? That now instead of knight F4, I'm actually gonna go knight H4, because I'm not only taking on this pawn, but I'm also taking on this guy here. It's either one of those. I can take here or here. So he moved knight C2, knight H4, taking the G2 pawn, and knight E1, and everything seemed fine, right? Everything seemed fine here. Now, can someone tell me what's the crashing move here? See if you guys can find the crashing move on this position. This guy obviously totally missed that, and after this move, the white have to resign. White have to completely resign after this move. I'm gonna give you 20 seconds to see if you can find it. Well, knight takes F3 doesn't work because knight takes knight. Knight takes G2 doesn't work because knight takes knight. So the knight is defending everything, right? So what is happening here? Well, then black complete crash with rook takes. Yeah, rook takes G2. Boom. And now black is completely winning. This is just over. Either the queen, or you can move. I take the queen. You can do queen takes rook, which is what happened in the game, or you can do knight takes rook, in which case I do knight takes F3, and boom, I take the queen, and that is a bomb. The end. Pretty much. The game went on from here a little longer, but you know, it's just too much initiative to deal with. Not only that you're now down a queen, but you're still having some issues, and of course the rook is coming to as well. So he took the pawn, put the rook on Ga, bishop f1, and now a very cool move, queen f6, rook takes c5, king ba, and then the bishop is just either the bishop or the pawn, and then I will be doing some discover attack. It's just crashing too many pieces, and of course I'm also have a queen, so this position is completely crashing. So shout out to Jeffrey for finding this awesome making this awesome game and to creating this crazy attack on g2. This was a very, well, it's supposed to be an easy game, right? 24 move, pretty much 25, and since move 21 this guy was completely lost, and he beat with black at 2600. So this game was really cool. Once again, you should definitely take a look at this defense here, this way of playing against the Queen's Gambit, because it's definitely very interesting and very complicated. So if you want to go for a win, the second game that we're gonna see today is also by Jeffrey. You know, he won the tournament in St. Louis, and I wanted to show games of the people who are playing the best chess. That's why we're doing this segment the week. So Jeffrey had this position after some crazy opening, which I thought was very interesting, but I didn't want to go through the entire game. So this is where the best move begin, what I think the most important part of the game begins. So it is black to move, and exactly, yeah. I mean, the winning these games with playing 2700s might have been a little harder. But this guy Sarana, he's actually one of the most talented players from Russia, and he's very strong, as you can see, 26-64, and he beat a couple of people in the World Cup. He's a very dangerous guy, and now with black, he just gave him a lesson on an endgame. So we're going from winning a very tactical, very aggressive game to now winning a very technical rook endgame, and now I already gave up a little bit of what's gonna happen, but this next move here is extremely important for those of you. A strategy is extremely important for chess, right? And you need to understand certain things that you have to do throughout the game, and it helps you calculate and it helps you guide yourself into what you're supposed to do. For example, in this position, the bishop is in very bad shape, so you can wait there and maybe hope that the bishop can go this way, and then I will try to block that, not let you get out, and maybe put my knight on e4. Why is probably slightly better if you let that happen, because your bishop is not active. You need to activate your pieces, guys, whenever you can, and that's why in this position Jeffrey made to what I think is the only move. And I mean, thinking like that is it's hard, because sometimes you're like, oh, there's so many moves I can do here. Well, there are certain strategy moves that you just have to do, then you can think about it later, like this move, e4 bomb. That was the beginning of a masterpiece by Jeffrey. So e4, giving up the pawn, but it's not really giving up the pawn. You get it back. More importantly, is activating the bishop. The bishop on g7 is now working, is now blocked by its own pawn. So obviously white took the pawn. There's nothing better to do. Maybe knight b5 doesn't really work, c6, right? And then, well, actually, I don't even have to go c6. But yeah, I could go c6, and if I want to so I can free my... Or I can also activate more with maybe queen... Yeah, c6 pawn takes. Something like this will be probably good enough. Bishop h6, so maybe I have some pressure on here. This is possible. I can also just take the knight. So, but okay, knight takes e4 was played, and then Jeffrey went queen e7. Makes sense, getting the pawn back, and also stopping knight g5, right? So if you move the knight, obviously I take the pawn, then my bishop is active, my rook is active. Look at this rook. The position is not fun for white. So queen d3 was played, rook e8. And Jeffrey's just simply trying to get the pawn back. You gotta move the knight. This guy played knight c3. There was no really better place for the knight. You could have gone maybe here, let's say, but then let's just say here, and I go take the pawn, and now you have to play this position with the rook and the bishop. So rook and bishops are better than rook and knights, especially when the position is open. And in this case, the position is very open. The bishop has a lot of movement, and obviously this is gonna be a very tough endgame for white. I'm gonna go up with my king. I'm gonna activate my king, and this rook is passive. This knight is passive. It was not gonna be fun, and possibly complete loss for Sarana. So when knight c3 he played, and now he could have taken the pawn. This is actually the first move that I thought he should do to keep the bishop, to keep the endgame bishop rook versus rook knight. But then the problem is knight b5, and this move here is the one that gives white compensation. So now you don't have a knight hanging around there in the middle of nowhere doing nothing. Now you have a knight that is attacking a pawn, and this is not what black wants in this position. If you want to win this game, you got to keep white pieces weak and passive. So that's why Jeffrey went bishop takes knight, so gave up the bishop for the knight. Queen takes and queen takes pawn, queen takes and rook takes. So now we're getting into this endgame where the rook, the one piece that is left for white is passive. You got a rook b1 passive compared to an active rook. And in rook endgames, for those of you guys who didn't know, if you are up on activity, it's almost like being up a pawn. Okay, so you definitely have a big advantage here if you're playing this position, and very little chance of losing, which makes it even better. The other thing is that these pawns here are more advanced, and because they're more advanced, they're also more weak. This king can get to these pawns a lot faster than can this king get to his pawns. So rook a1, which is, I think, is pretty much the only move. If white want to have a chance of winning here, you have to activate the rook. If you sit there and you do nothing about it, I will crash you. It will be an easy win for black. You can maybe protect this rook here, go here, and then I will do the same. I might have to go around a little, but at some point I will get into your, maybe that way, or I can maybe go even this way, longer, but possible as well. The thing is that if I get to this pawn, which I will because my rook is cutting you off, then the position is very easy win for black, which should be very, very comfortable. So he tried to play active, which is usually what works, and now the better way is that, well, he tried to get the pawn, but as you can see, I'm going fast here, but because I want to get to this point here. This was there was no way for white to avoid this, because if you don't play active and take all these pawns, then you were gonna suffer even more, and then my king was gonna be more active once we get to this same endgame. So this one here is supposed to be, well, if well played for both players, it should be a draw. Now Alexei Sarana, he didn't defend very well, and he lost the game. But we're gonna go over a little bit of the ways you can defend this position. So we're gonna go g3, and this is the first move he made, which it makes sense because you wanna maybe attack this rook, right, and try to get it out of this. So like h3 and rook g5, and then you play h4. I go rook g4, and as you can see, the position now, they didn't change. I want to kick this rook. I want to make sure this rook doesn't stay there. So I want to play g3. I want to play h3, let's say, and then I want to go king f3, and then I want to go king f4, so I can maybe get that. That's what it seems. Get the rook out. Okay. So, but that's not so easy though. That's not gonna happen that easy, because look what happened. So he plays g3, and the best move would have been king f3. King f3 would have been the best move, because rook g5, I can go rook a7, and this move, guys, this is the key move to making a draw in this position. Once again, you have to activate your pieces, and in this case, the rook, even though the rook is active here, is more important to give checks and not let this king to keep going forward. If you're gonna go forward, you're gonna get a bunch of checks. Now, if this rook gets out, then I will give you more checks, and I would try to hold on here. Again, it's an uncomfortable position, but white could have defended. So g3 was played, and then as you can see, the king starts marching with the pawn. Now it's getting a lot more difficult here, and now the most important moment here. If you play anything other than anything that is not rook f5 check, which is what happened in the game, the endgame would have probably been a draw. Because look, I played g4, now I'm threatening king f4, your rook is gonna have to move, and then I get the pawn. That's an easy draw. So rook f5 check, and now the problem is that the rook got active. So now you can play g4, but I would take, and then I now can push my pawn without problems. These pawns, as long as this pawn is together with the king, you can never really take it with the rook. Now once again, he made another mistake. He just played g4 when once again the best move is rook a7. You cannot let me get comfortable. You cannot let me get comfortable, and that's why rook a7 is such a good move, because it creates these checks, these lateral checks, right? And those lateral checks is the only way to stop this king from going forward and pushing, forward and pushing, forward and pushing. So you have to do this check. You're forced to do this check. So g4 is a great move. Sorry, it's not a good move. d5, g takes, and now if I want to continue with this push, all I need is to put the rook on e5. This guy made a kind of annoying position. He should have gone for rook a7 once again, then rook check, and then rook e4, and now here we go again. I'm just pushing. If you want to stay passive, then I go king e3, and who is gonna stop this baby here? Is gone. The pawn is gone. The pawn d4, d3, d2 is unstoppable. Okay, you might be able to get that pawn, but it will be too slow. As you can see here, you're gonna have to actually, this king is cut off, so this would not work, because now I can just go, and whenever you get far away from, because this king is cut off, you're now far away enough, I can go attack the pawn and get that rook on a6. So that's it, it's over, no? So he played rook a7, but then rook check, and then rook f5, and once again, well, watch out, don't take the pawn, right? Don't take the pawn, because check and take the rook. So rook f4 check, and now once again that rook is cutting off the king, leaving. Good night everyone. Yes, hi. So good. So now this is cutting off the king, and now he's leaving that king free to go. This is like a much better version of the well-known Lucena position, because this king cannot move at all. So king g2, bomb, and now here's the time where it's just push. There's nothing else. You just push, and now he gets the other pawn, and that's it, guys. He resigned, and Jeffrey won the game. So a very, very nice technical game by Jeffrey. Again, these endgames, they could be well defended if white plays well, but they're also very hard, and because Sarana is not, is not a computer, of course, he made a mistake, and he lost the game. Very cool, very, very important game for Jeffrey, that actually made him win the St. Louis Chess Club Winter Classic. From jumping on from St. Louis to the internet, we're gonna be looking at 3 more tournaments today. We're gonna be looking at the chess.com match between Artemiev and Aronian. I thought that match was definitely worth taking a look at. Artemiev won the match. I was actually looking at this match live, and it was very interesting because Aronian started like 5.5 to 2.5. He was winning. He was winning 5.5 to 2.5, and then Artemiev beat him once, and then beat him again, and I think it was like 5.5, 4.5. But that 4.5, that one of those games, he won on time, and that completely killed Aronian's mood. And since that moment, Artemiev took over the match and completely destroyed Aronian. So a very, very interesting match. You definitely should check it out. And I'm gonna put some 4 of the games I'm gonna include here on this week segment. I want to include 4 of those games, and this one here is the first one. This one is a very basic endgame, but it has a lot of instructive value for a lot of people. So I wanted to also mention some basic concepts, and that is that you're playing what? You're playing a knight endgame where Artemiev was up a pawn, right? So being up a pawn in a knight endgame, technically speaking, is also white to move. By the way, it's also white to move. Is being up a pawn on a knight endgame is supposed to be as bad as if you were playing as bad for whoever is down a pawn as if you were playing a king endgame. So basically, if you're up a pawn on a knight endgame, it's pretty much over if whoever is up a pawn plays correctly, and that is the case here. This was a very easy one. He played black was trying to go for knight c5, and now have in mind, guys, this is a blitz game, so these guys are playing very good quality chess, even though it's a blitz game. But still, there will be a lot of errors sometimes. So b4, the move that makes sense to stop knight c5. Pawn takes pawn, pawn takes pawn. This all makes sense. Now Aronian tries to go for this pawn, but more importantly, he's trying to get the king active, and this is what makes this endgame a little tricky. If you're playing black, if you're playing white, you have to be very careful because you don't want to just let the king get in. You might actually lose the game. So the king activity is extremely important here, and this king is now very far away. So you better get it going. So white goes king g1. For those of you who leave your king far away, make sure you don't do that. You gotta bring the king. You cannot win any of these endgames if you are not using your king. So king e6. Now watch out, there's a check here, right? You don't want that. So knight c3, only move to stop the pawn. So what's the basics here? The basic idea on this endgame is that you will give up this pawn most likely because you are too far away from protecting this pawn, but you will get that king and possibly the knight completely distracted and out of the game. So if you want to take these pawns, this king is gonna get in, and then he's gonna be far away enough where you can take this pawn, and that is a technique called distraction, distracting the king and the knight. So knight c6, b5, knight b4, king f2. Okay, so far, again, it's about bringing the king, right? Ha ha ha. Yes, miracle. Sometimes I do. So basically, white is bringing the king in, and now the problem is that black has no way to get in. If you try to go, well, you could try go king d6. Maybe that could have done a little more danger here, but the fact is that I'm playing a5, and I'm gonna bring my king anyway, and you don't really have a way to make progress. Look at this, for example. I can give you a check here, let's say, and then while you go around getting these pawns, I would just go and get these other guys here. So very difficult for, or I can always give up my pawn. So Aronian probably made a blunder here, and he did knight takes d5 and king and pawn a5, and now we're back into this super basic endgame where this pawn is gonna be given so that this king can go into the king side. So king c5, a6, pawn takes, king b6, king e3, king takes pawn, and the king is just in time to go for the other pawns. Distraction, guys, remember that. Then king e6, boom, and now he's about, I mean, he should have resigned already, but he didn't. I guess he was playing for the time maybe, but that's it. Artemiev won that very nice endgame, and now we're gonna continue. We're gonna continue with the next game. The next game was also very good, and Artemiev won this game. He probably one of those games that define matches are those games that you're winning and then you lose. Aronian is playing white here, and white is completely winning. It's really sad because Aronian loses this game, and so he plays very well. He plays the move rook d7, obviously activating the rook. Nothing is better than attacking a pawn from behind. So if you want to activate your rook, put that rook behind the pawn that you want to defend. If you don't, this is the only danger for white right now, this pawn. So black have to go for the pawn, and now he plays king f6. If you take this pawn, it would have been of course take the pawn on f7, then come back. Then I take care of this guy. I'm up 2 pawns. That position is very, very good. Possibly knight c6 coming. White is definitely better. So he went king f6 trying to activate the king. Instead of being here cut off, let's go here, right? To see if I can get some danger going. Black goes, white goes, rook takes pawn, king e6. And here is where Aronian start making mistakes. Oh, far from making mistakes, he makes some not so accurate moves. He could have, if you look at it, this pawn is lost anyway. And more important than that, that's where you want to be, when these pawns start pushing. So you could take this pawn, then take this pawn, then come back, or you could take the pawn and then take the other pawn. Of course, now it makes sense now, right? It makes sense to just simply take this pawn. That way you get an extra pawn and you get this guy weak, and then rook takes pawn, you get the other pawn, and again this pawn is lost. So now you got all of black pawns, and all you have to do here to win is to push your other pawn. Maybe you gotta give some checks in between, but the point is that this, maybe knight 4 is better, and then h4. The point is that this position is completely winning, because it's very hard to push these pawns. Even though it seemed like it, you have to play rook b2, you have to play a2, you have to play bishop c3, you have to move the rook, and then it's a you gotta promote. It's too slow. While you do all that, I'm just gonna push, and then win the game. So very, very difficult position for Aronian, and sorry, for Artemiev. Definitely lost, definitely completely lost. So at that point, instead of taking this pawn, which would have been awesome, I'm winning, Aronian took the pawn on a7. So rook takes b3, what happened? And then now Aronian played knight c6. I guess this is what he thought. He thought he could just take the bishop or take the pawn. But no, this guy played rook d3, and now you know this is a little bit of a trick here. If you do knight takes pawn, I can do rook here, let's say, and I'm gonna try to annoy you a little with this knight, and maybe I can get this pawn and maybe even make a draw. Or in some cases, this knight might actually get trapped. So of course this is a blitz game, but you notice how the knight is actually getting trapped. So this is what Aronian didn't want to go for. So he took the pawn, and now the difference is that, well, this king is more active, and now this rook is not behind the pawn yet. So those are all tempos that now white is losing. And then suddenly knight takes, bishop takes, rook b7. Well, look at the end game. So instead of being up 4 pawns on this side, suddenly he's only up 1 pawn in the whole game. And now black has some chances. Again, not for a win, but at least for a draw. Well, he actually won the game. Black won the game. Unbelievable. No, things that happen in blitz, of course. So h4, king c4, rook b6, and similar to the Jeffrey position, he has this idea of blocking the rook that practically wins the whole thing. So basically, now I'm playing king c3, and you cannot even waste time taking the pawn, which is actually what happened. That was a big mistake, and now black is completely winning. But again, Artemiev makes a mistake, and the position is back to equality. Supposedly this is equal. So Aronian plays rook d5. That seems good, because then now you don't have to deal with, you want to play rook b5 or rook c5. The winning move was b2 though, because it's faster. And now rook b6, king c3, rook takes pawn, right? King takes rook, and now this is gonna be a very something for you guys to remember. If you want to make sure this endgame is a draw, one of the things you need to allow, you cannot allow as white, is that this king gets here, right? If I get here or anywhere where I can block the pawns, I'm winning. So if I can bring my king higher enough where I don't let you get in, I could make a draw. The problem is that you don't have enough time. Well, actually, wait, I can play rook d3. That's the move. then now I can cut you off. And then if you keep going, I'm already too far away, and this is a winning position. So a very this is winning. Well, he missed that. He played rook d5, and now because of that move, you still have to push this pawn. So he went rook e6, and now he can give up the pawn anytime if you play b2. So b2, rook e1, rook d5, rook b1, king c3, and technically speaking, if you go all the way to get, you have to go all the way here, right? King c2, rook f1, b1, rook takes, rook takes. Now, again, Aronian, this position is equal, and Aronian makes a final mistake. He goes h5, king d3, and once again, based on what I told you guys before, you cannot let this king get here. You cannot let this king block your pawns. The rook cannot deal with these pawns by itself. You have to play the move that I would do in an instant, but of course, again, this is a 1 minute game. Oh, sorry, 3 minute game. So it's not that easy to make those moves. He went king h3, which is kind of ridiculous. No, actually, no, he went g5. I don't know if he thought maybe he was winning this. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what he thought, but he went g5. And of course, the only move and the easy draw is king f3. And that's it. It's a draw. You can play king d4, I go king f4, and I just follow you. I just don't want to let you get in. And the aim is a draw, and in a practical blitz game, you might actually be lost if you're not careful. You might lose this game. So he goes g5. Yeah, just never let. I need to cut off the king. That's the key. That's the key. And he just blundered. He played g5, and now he's just lost. Rook is, and the problem is you cannot push any of the pawns. I gain a tempo, and now, well, he had to make some good moves, but basically that's it. Yeah, this is the end of the game. So Aronian ended up winning. So Artemiev ended up winning this game, which was extremely important because he was completely losing for black. So that was very I'm sure pretty traumatizing for Aronian. The next game is another Aronian game that I'll call Aronian didn't lose all the games on the match. He won some very nice games. This is one of them. If it was a Najdorf with the knight g4 line, and this game, the only reason I put it here is because very crazy, a very crazy game. Knight g4, bishop c3. Now Artemiev go with this knight c6 line. I recommend, if you're gonna play the English attack, definitely play f3. There's no need of playing these knight g4 lines. There's just no really a need of for that. So you should just play bishop e3, and then knight to avoid the complicated knight g4. Now, one way you can avoid that line is by going back bishop c1, and then most people will go back to f6. Then you play f3. Then you're doing really well. But in this game, it didn't go that way. He plays knight c6, which is a tricky line, but it's not supposed to be that good. White play f3. That's a little weird. It's a little a weird move because the best move is h3. h3, queen b6, h takes, and white is a slightly better. Now this is not much. This is just the beginning of the game, but it is a little better for white. Now f3, it's a little weird because now queen b6, and now if you take this knight, well, I'm gonna take your knight, right? But then you get a double pawn that is really weird. It's not the same to have this position as having this one. As you can see, the pawn is going towards the center, leaving this guy isolated. Why would you do that? Or if you can do h take. So that's the main reason. So knight d5 was played. I guess this was the whole idea of for Aronian. So knight d5, and now I'm taking your queen. So this is where the crazy stuff begins. This is I don't think any of them knew any of this. I think they just kind of went for it. So queen takes knight. It seems correct. Now you don't want to take this knight because then I gotta check and and I can protect this pawn later if I want to. So he went queen takes queen, knight takes, and now check. So now a lot of checks. King d8, knight takes rook, knight takes pawn, king d2, no king d1, because I might have a check later as well. Take the other rook. So king d2, knight takes rook, And now this is where the game begins, basically. White is down a bishop, down a knight, but this knight is trapped. So you take the knight. I'm sorry. So the knight is trapped, this knight is trapped. They're both traps. So now whoever can get the trap knight is the one who wins. The problem though is that this knight is not really trapped. If I go knight b6, knight f4, and I get my knight out, I'm getting the knight out in one move. So how about this guy? Well, it's not easy for this guy. This guy is definitely worse than this one because he doesn't have a way to get out. So, but here Artemiev made a mistake. He played g6, which was not as the best move. Then Aronian played h3, protected the pawn, and after some crazy complications here that we would see, White got a better position. But the best move was b5, which was very difficult to see, honestly, because you want to get bishop b7, and maybe you want to get rid of this 2 square for the knight. So a move like e6, for example, even if you play knight b6, you could have played knight b6. Actually, no way, knight b6. If you go knight b6, I can play bishop b7, yeah, and then knight d5. I can play e6, and then I can take this pawn. That's the thing. I can take this pawn at the end, and then take the other pawn. So it can get very complex. But he played g6, so we're gonna go for the main line, just to see what happened in the game. Check. Bishop takes will be horrible, as I can play king b1, and then the knight is gone, right? And I'm still getting my knight out. So bishop g7, knight b6. The knight's out now, but watch out, you're losing the pawn, right? Bishop takes pawn now. You got to do something about that. So Aronian played b3, and after bishop d4, knight d5, bishop king d7, and again, it's not clear how you're gonna get this knight. The knight's trapped and everything, but I don't see an easy way. So maybe bishop d3 and bishop somewhere, and then king d2 and then knight. Well, you're gonna have to trade the bishop. All right, so bishop d3, rook c8, rook e1, and now Aronian finally found a way to attack that. So we want to play rook e2, bishop b2, take the rook b1. The knight's still trapped, right? So, I mean, this is all very, very probably thought quickly. It's blitz, playing blitz, but they still play very well. Rook takes, bishop takes, pawn takes, and now stopping the idea, right, of bishop b2, but not really. I'm playing bishop b2 as well. Trade. If I get rid of this guy, then this guy is weak. So there's not really a way for black to continue. If you go backwards, I go rook e2 and I play bishop b2. If not, I play bishop b2 now. So the knight won't be protected. So Artemiev finally decided to give up the knight for the pawn. Pawn takes, rook takes, and then rook e2. And I want to stop here because this position, it is still very, very complex. Black has 3 pawns, so it's 3 pawns for a bishop, but it is better for white. I did think that game was so crazy. There was so many stuff hanging around, and it's definitely worth taking a look at this line for and to analyze or to even calculate, because it's really hard to calculate in a position like that. And the fact that they played very well and very decent in a 3-minute game is pretty impressive. So next game is Artemiev, and Artemiev won this game. Very nice. He plays this really weird. He likes to play these weird positions. I don't think Artemiev is that well prepared or deeply prepared against in the main line. So he tends to play. He tends to play very, very weird side lines, double fianchetto, to get to these positions where basically no one can really study chess. Let's just play chess, no? And then the move before was queen b1. The guy Aronian played knight c6, then pawn takes, and now he just goes back queen d1. It's like, who understands, right? He just went king b1, now back to queen d1. I have no idea, but the position is still okay for white. Now, of course, it seems relatively easy to make the decision of taking the pawn, knight takes, bishop takes, knight, all of that, right? Bishop takes e2 is a cool move. Or you could have taken directly queen takes, and the endgame was probably gonna be a draw. I guess Aronian was trying to win, maybe. This is definitely slightly better for white, but from there to win, that's a different story. Because I'm pretty solid. I put my bishop on g6. I don't think white can win this, but that could have happened. I think that would have probably been better for Aronian. Aronian instead decided to go for this endgame, and the difference is that now it's not a bishop versus bishop endgame or position. It's a bishop versus knight position. And usually, again, rooks and bishops are better than rooks and knights. Now, queen and knight is better than queen and bishop. This is a general concept, right? Everything has to be depending on the position. And in this position, the bishop is obviously a lot more active. The queen and the rook are more active than black pieces. But if you can get rid of the rooks, then black position improve a lot, right? Same with getting rid of the queen. So rook c8 was played, queen e4, and they went. Of course, this is speed chess, so they're just going. They went for a series of moves that don't make that much sense, but they do a little. So like attack this pawn. Okay, now we got b6 is weak, and more important, get that bishop to d5. This was probably the first move that really created the initiative here. The bishop on d5, and now I got something. I'm taking the knight. I'm getting some weaknesses here. So you gotta move. You gotta do something about this. And he went for rook c2. Now if you go knight c5, I was gonna go queen b5. You take, and watch out. Actually no, sorry, that doesn't work. No, I just take the pawn. I just take that guy. Now I'm playing b4, and you got the a5 weakness. So I'm pretty sure I will get that pawn, and then I have the bishop. I also have pressure on f7. And the thing is that knights are usually better. Knights are much better when they can be placed on a position where they cannot be kicked. Well, that's not the case of this knight. This knight is not supported by any pawns, so it's gonna have to move. And then where are you gonna put it? Here? That doesn't look like a good place for the knight anyway. It's just very, very passive either way. So rook c2 was played, and now queen g4, taking the knight. If you take this guy, of course, I would take the knight, and then I would take the pawn check, and I would take the b6 pawn. So actually, wait, no, that's not. No, if you do this one, I think I have queen e7 maybe. Well, I can take. Oh yeah, of course. Sorry, yeah, this is it. So this is possible because this queen protects. This queen protects the f2 pawn. So why is up a pawn? So knight c7 was played, and now bishop e4, rook c5, queen f4, and after some moves, they finally got to this similar angle that we talked about, where I got a weak pawn, yes, but you also got a weak pawn, and I'm not gonna let you trade that pawn. That pawn here, this pawn here is the key to winning this game. If you play a4, I will play. Well, I can play bishop d5 first and then b4, right? That's winning. This is a trick. That was a nice trick. Also threatening b4. So very nice idea here for Artemiev. So it's pretty impressive itself to win this position, even though it's better for white. It's still pretty hard to win. You have to be very precise. Like right now, okay, here we go. I'm taking again. So it is a combination of weaknesses. There's a lot of theory out there and a lot of examples of games that you cannot win if you don't create two weaknesses. So this is exactly what's happening here. There's a weak pawn here, and there's a weak pawn on f7. But more important than that is actually that the king is also technically weak. You have to be careful, because if I take by rook d7, suddenly I have a huge initiative. So queen b4, queen takes, pawn takes, and now rook e1. And here we go. Artemiev got to the endgame that was convenient to him, not the other way. He used the initiative to trade the queens, and now we're playing an endgame where you got two rooks versus rook and a bishop endgame versus rook and knight. And like we already mentioned before, the rook and bishop are way better than the rook and knight. So Rook c3, well, nothing there. Rook e4 to attack this pawn here, and the position would have held on a lot longer, but Aronian completely blundered. And of course, this comes up. This game was probably after all this crazy stuff happened, and he was just not doing very well. And Black could have played Rook b8 to protect the pawn. That's the move I would have done, but anyone else probably, because it's the only move that protects the pawn. Bishop c4, and White's still doing pretty well because you got these ideas like h6, for example, Rook d7, and knight c5 doesn't work because of this, and this doesn't work because Rook takes, and then you're playing a very, very, very tough endgame because not only you're down a pawn, but you're also passive. My Rook is gonna keep yours passive. That would have been the best outcome for Aronian, but instead he didn't play Rook b8, he played Rook d8, and now he just completely blundered. And you can guess it, guys. The next move is Rook takes 9. Boom. Resign, pretty much. F takes, bishop takes, check, king f8, rook takes, king e6, rook b8. It's still not that easy, but we're now getting to that same endgame that we had before, but White is now up 2 pawns. So he totally, I'm pretty sure, I don't know if maybe he didn't blunder, but if he saw this, I would have rather played the other endgame. And now this endgame is very easy because all you have to do is pass this pawn, push this guy all the way to b7 and create a pass pawn. The f5 wins. So he played g5, and now to end the game, boom, h4. That's it. Pawn takes pawn doesn't really work because rook takes, and the game continue on after h4. But it's technically a very easy endgame. You guys can look it up if you want. But this position is winning. So I didn't follow up with this because I don't think it was important to finish up that position. So next game is now a new tournament. So so far we've talked about the St. Lucia's Classic, the Winter Classic, who just finished last week, where Jeffrey Sean won. We talked about the match Artemiev versus Aronian. Artemiev won also. Very nice, very exciting match. You should check it out if you can. All the games are on the database. And now we are moving on to Europe. We got we had the Hamburg FIDE Grand Prix, and that brought a lot of really strong players, as you already know, as you might guess. And before we get into who won the tournament, which was Grishuk, he won the tournament. Alexander Grishuk won. We're gonna look at 2 of his games. I want to show you this pretty cool endgame won by Daniil Dubov. An endgame that has a lot of value on many things, many aspects. So it's white to move. So it's black to move. Of course, if you are in a position like this, you don't need to castle. On top of that, you're losing the pawn. But the idea is that if you're playing an endgame, you don't need to castle, guys. You can go on and play king e7. Your king is actually, in fact, better in the center than it is anywhere else. So king e7 was a very good move and very simple. Protect the pawn and kicks the rook out. And now we're looking at this position, this endgame that seemed drawish if white plays very well. But the one thing you need to understand is that this position is very, very hard for white. You got a g2 problem. You got a bishop that cannot develop. You have a rook that also have to deal with some pressure. This bishop is a monster, and black is gonna use that to win the game. So the next move is extremely important, and it might seem very very simple, but it's not. Is the reasoning behind that it makes it a good move. Rook b d8. White, thanks for following, Eric Puchala. So rook b d8 is a really good move because it trades the only rook, the only piece that is active. Okay, so you want to trade the rooks if you can. You want to get rid of one of the biggest things you can do in chess is to is to trade the pieces. If you cannot activate your pieces more, you can get rid of the pieces that are active. That's exactly what Daniel is doing here. He's trading the one rook that can do some damage, maybe like rook h3, rook b3, or rook c3, and bishop takes. So getting rid of the rook seems logical. Now that I'm gonna get rid of that rook, or whenever I want, I'm gonna start pushing my pawns, and that is another thing you need to do in your games, and that is to use your advantages. If you have a pass pawn on this side, or your up a pawn on this side, well, you better push those pawns, right? You got to push those pawns. You got to use your advantage. So g3 makes sense. So what is white doing here? Well, white is doing what the only thing that white is supposed to be doing, developing this bishop. You got to finish developing. If you're not done yet, well, you got to do it, and that's what he's doing. Black keeps activating the king. Look how the position just keeps getting better, and it keeps getting better because black is using the king to push those pawns. The king is a piece of attack in the end game, so you need to use it as is. Don't put a king on AA and expect that you're gonna win the end game. No. You gotta use your king. Bishop e2, rook takes rook, bishop takes rook, e4, and here we go. Again, let's keep pushing. And what do I want to do here? When I want to trade this f double pawn for any of the other pawns, so that I can pass the other pawn. White plays bishop c4, and now we got this position here where black wants to continue. Black wants to go up and try to push this pawn, but this bishop is attacking the pawn. So what would you do if you were here? It's not an easy position yet. You could play rook da, for example, but then I will go rook d1, and watch out, you cannot trade so much here, you might be lost. This position here, for example, might be worse for black, actually, because you see, suddenly I got my bishop is a lot more active than yours, because I can attack your pawns. Your pawns are all in white, right? And these pawns are black. If you're playing the same color bishop endgame, then make sure your pawns are on the same color, on the opposite color of your opponent's bishop color. So you guessed it, guys. The best move here is actually king e5, bomb, another bomb, giving up the pawn on f7, but activating the king even more. And also, as you will see, why of course have to take. Well, if you don't take the pawn, I will continue with my plan, or I will play f6, and then I will play f4. So black is just simply speeding up the process of pushing the pawns by giving up one. But now here's the thing: you take the pawn, which is what happened in the game. Then rook f8. You have to move the bishop backwards. This is definitely the best position for the bishop. If you put it here, the bishop is doing nothing. There's nothing on this diagonal for this bishop. This bishop should come here to try to control some of the diagonals here, so the king cannot get here, stuff like that. Also, maybe the push pawn on the e file. So bishop c4 is the only move, and then f4. So suddenly, black gave up a pawn for looking for more initiative, and as you can see, this rook is now getting active. I want to get my rook to the 7 rank. I want to take the pawn and then play rook f2, or I simply want to take the pawn and push my pawn on e3. So I'm using my advantage. Now it cost me a pawn, so I have to get something real. I have to get something that matters here. So rook f1 is a very good move because it is stops. If you do this now, I don't have rook f2, right? And if I trade rooks, then you're definitely worse, because my pawns, this pawn is not going anywhere if I don't use the rook. So it is extremely important to keep that rook alive. And of course, why it makes sense not to trade rooks? Well, you just have to look at your position. It makes sense not to trade rooks because this rook is attacking and this rook is defending. So if you trade rooks, you're helping your opponent, right? When you make trades on any game, you have to consider how active your pieces are, not just the material. The material is the easy one because you just count. When you're talking about strategy, a lot of the time it's about how good that piece is, how good my piece is. Do I want to trade? That's what I need to consider. So rook f6 was played, then rook h6 is coming with some Very interesting attack on h2 and provoking the weaknesses, because I want white to take this pawn so I can keep going king takes pawn and keep pushing my king. Also, I want to separate these two pawns. Connected pawns are a lot better than isolated ones. So b3 was played. It's kind of a random move that doesn't really do anything. It's just a waiting move to just do really nothing. It's just to hold on to a position. Then black goes rook h6, h4, and then now rook pawn takes, rook g6. So okay, 1, I got my pass pawn. Very important, right? 2, I'm also getting a pawn here. Now maybe rook f7 would have been better, but it's not that easy. I can push my pawn as well. I can take this guy, and even though you can take this pawn, I can play king here, and maybe also similar to those endgames that we've been looking at today. I might be able to push this one because this one is a lot more dangerous. I'm going king a3, rook g1. I hide my king behind this pawn, use my king, and then push. So it is definitely better for black. So white didn't want to do that. Then he tried to keep the pawn alive, try to maybe trade those pawns, keep that rook, taking care of the e pawn, and king f4 was played. And again, look at the class, right? The master class. He's just activating. We haven't seen at any moment yet where he just stops bringing the king forward. It's very cool. Very cool. So bishop d3, rook g7. Again, not letting this pawn push. Don't letting this pawn push. Well, you can push, but it's not gonna do much. There was some really cool line here. If you play g6, looks like a good move. I can do pawn takes, bishop takes, and now I go e2. Not much, right? I'm just playing king. I'm just doing rook takes bishop, and you cannot play there. So if you go king d2, makes sense. I go bishop e4, and now what do? Well, I'm taking the rook. If you take the bishop, no, actually, I'm not only doing that. Yes, and then I'm taking the bishop. So this will lose at the spot because you have to. I'm promoting, so you have to take the pawn. I take the bishop, right? Then I have a rook. So he goes h5, and after h5, it seems like black is okay because I'm taking the pawn. But then rook d1 check. And the problem is that if you take the pawn, I go check, and king e3, and now black has an unstoppable mate on d1. I mean, that was an amazing tactic. Even I didn't even see it. This was great. This was a great tactic. How can you not stop this rook mate on d1? It's pretty impressive. And it would have been the same if you take on this guy. I go check, and once again I get my mate no matter what. Rook d1 checkmate. So white didn't go for it, didn't play g6. That would have lost at the spot. And again, it's almost like a suk-swan position because you cannot move the rook. If you move this rook, I go king g3, king f2. Oh, I can go, and then king g2, and then I'm pushing the pawn. If you move the king gets too far away, so I can play e2, king e3. And that, if I get there, it's winning. So white's almost suk-swan. White went for b4, rook d7. Simply going for e2. Again, another move that is kind of a waiting move. Rook e1, rook e7. I don't want to push the pawn because the king gets close, but I do might want to go maybe king g3, king f7, and now bishop h5. Now I'm ready to go king g3, king f2, or king f3, king f2. Okay, b5, pawn takes, and now these pawns are separate, and boom, rook d5. I guess white lost the temper a little here. Maybe he could have waited a little longer here and play something, but there's no way. There's no move here. Rook g1, I go king f3. And then I go, if you give me a check, I go here. And then whenever you give me a chance, I will push my pawn. So you don't have an easy way to stop my e2. The only way you can do it is by keeping the rook. And as you can see there, now I'm gonna almost trap your rook. So this is the problem. Black has some big issues on the position here because you don't have a move. So b5 was played and pawn takes, rook d5, and now things change a little. I'm just gonna go take my pawn. And now I'm doing check. If you take this guy, I check you, then take the rook. It's completely winning. So rook f6 trying to activate, but at this point is already kind of late to activate. I'm just gonna go e2 and then win the game. Rook b6, rook e7 protects everything. Same would have happened if you played rook a6. Well, actually, no, that would have been even worse, because then I go bishop g6, and if you go king here, I go king f2, and now how are you gonna stop me from going bishop takes bishop and promote? I mean, this is why you need to use your kings wisely on the endgames. The king is a piece of attack. So rook b6, rook e7, simple. Because remember, I cannot lose these pawns. If I push and he gives up the bishop take, and I take, and he takes that pawn, and he has a remote, even a remote chance of getting to a bishop rook endgame, bishop rook versus rook endgame, that is technically a draw. So why would you allow that? No, I'm not gonna allow that. I can still play e2 and not give up my pawns. So that's kind of what happened in the game. Well, similar, bishop g6, king d1, and that's what we analyzed before. White has no move. You have to play h5. Rook d7, another bomb. And now I'm doing rook takes bishop. Promote. This game was incredible. Then boom. Anyway, because again, I don't want to give the check. If you do this move now, that's a huge blunder, because I get check, and then I get my king closer, and that position you just throw away the advantage. Rook d7 was so awesome. Boom. And now e2 is gone and promote. That position is just over. The rest was kind of yeah, there's nothing you can do. You have to take the you cannot really take the pawn, and the end game was finished. That was the end of the game, guys. He lost. He resigned after pawn takes pawn, with reason behind. Of course, you have no chance here, and is a theoretically winning end game anyway. It's very easy. Queen versus rook is winning. Imagine if you're a queen on a pawn, or two pawns versus rook. That's easy. So a very nice game by Daniel, beating Duda, one of the best players in the world now, and very in a very good way with black. So the next game, I'm gonna be now continue with the champion of the Grand Prix, Alexander Grishuk, one of my favorite players. And one of the most aggressive, I would say, players, more talented players in the world for sure. He beat Duda in an extremely insane game, This was amazing. So d4. If I don't remember incorrectly, Duda beat Dubov, but then Duda lost to Grishuk. That's kind of how the Grand Prix event went. They were doing matches of, I think, 5-6 games, and then they each lost. So Grishuk ended up winning every match. So d4, d5. We're gonna go with the opening a little, because I want to show you the first big move here. And this is already not the best position for black. Sorry, for white. Sorry, for black. Black obviously wasted a bunch of time playing c5, playing c6, then c5. Then now white has obviously more space. That's just not a very good position for black already. So why would you do all that? No. Then white makes a bomb here. d5. First incredible move. d5. And of course it makes sense. You're giving up a pawn, but it still doesn't look so easy. So pawn takes, bishop takes. White is up a pawn. How would you continue? If I get to castle, my pawn structure is pretty solid, right? So what can you do? Boom, e4. Let's open up position, and this goes together with the usual way you attack. If your king is in the middle, you want to open up the position. If you want to take that pawn, you lose. Pretty sure you lose. I get too much initiative there. You will not handle this position. It's very, very bad. And then I'm playing knight c3 next move. This is horrible. Definitely very close to losing. Taking the bishop, taking the knight. Got knight d2 as well if I want. I'm gonna destroy black there for sure. So Bishop c6, rook e1. Simple, but not so simple. I'm playing e5, e6. Getting my pawn on e6. I'm maybe playing knight g5 after all. It's just also not very good. If you go bishop e7, I would go e5, for example, maybe e6, and then now g7 is hanging. So the position is just falling apart. So I guess Duda realized that and thought, you know what? Maybe I should go long castle instead, and then try to get the position try to get the king safe on g7. So, sorry, on the long castle. So queen e7, knight c3, long castle, and now boom, knight d5 with another beast move here, knight d5, and then black is giving up. Black can take another pawn. Well, if you play e5, I go knight d5, e6. Well, now I can just take the pawn, right? And it's not that easy for you to keep making progress. You're giving up so much that you might run out of pieces. So also this pawn comes here with a very important defense to this knight. So you want to keep that knight, and more important, you want to use the rook. So you want to open that file. You don't want to just close it or keep it closed. Knight d5 is another bomb here. Black goes queen e8. A4, typical way of attacking when you're playing a different side castle position. You want to open files. That's the key. Right now, this file is technically closed. It's a semi-open file, but because of the chain, it's very hard to penetrate. So white plays a4 bomb, and now bishop d6, bishop a6 check, bishop b. If you play bishop b7, I just go. I can go bishop b5, and then I'm doing knight takes knight, queen takes bishop. You cannot play a6 because I got knight takes bishop. There's so much going on for black here. It's really hard, really hard. So king b8, and of course, well, you see it, a5. So second pawn that Grisha gives up. But look at the king. Look at this guy here. This is the problem. This is the main problem. You are completely destroyed. I'm taking this pawn, and now we're gonna see one of my favorite moves coming up very, very fast. Pawn takes pawn, pawn takes pawn. Finally, Grisha gets the rook open, and bishop b5 was played. Queen a4, and now queen e6, and now you're gonna have to. This is gonna be an amazing move, guys. So it seems like if black is somehow holding on now, if you have to move this knight, or if you even take the bishop, black can still kind of hold on. Bishop takes pawn maybe, and then rook g8. It doesn't look very good, but it is possible. Maybe bishop takes knight, queen takes check. I still go king c8. Nothing clear yet, but now Grisha just came out with this insane move. That's why he's one of the best players in the world. Boom! Bishop c6. And that is insane. Super, super distraction move. One of the most beautiful moves I've ever seen. Bishop c6. And of course now I'm doing queen a8 mate, which is crazy, right? You have to take the bishop. Queen a8 checkmate in 2. You have to take the bishop. Sorry, you don't have to take the bishop, but let's see what happens if you take. If you take the bishop, then I go queen a7 check, king c8, queen takes bishop, checkmate. If you take the queen, queen a7, king c8, knight e7 mate, and it is over. Mate 2. So black goes bishop takes h7, and only move. Yeah, this game was incredible. Wow, what a wow game. So knight takes bishop, simple. There's nothing else, and I'm doing exactly the same. If you do bishop takes, I'm doing checkmate. This is exactly the same. If you do bishop takes, the only difference now is that I do knight e7 check, but it's not mate. You give me the queen. In fact, you don't give me the queen. He found a way to get the queen back, but it was not enough. Grisha just got a rook. And then this is not the end of the game. The game went on for maybe 10 more moves or so, but as you can see, white is up a rook. One incredible game by Grishuk, definitely serving to win the championship of the Hamburg FIDE raid. And now we are, well, after this one is hard to match, but we're gonna go on with the next game. And the only reason, actually, yes, so the reason why I wanted to show you, yeah, this was an incredible, yeah, this is an incredible, that game was incredible. This one was a very good technique, and I wanted to show you this this one. I'm going from being a crazy game to usually a simplification game, trying to find the two sides of the story. Obviously, you can never. Okay, this one. Okay, so no. Okay, now I remember. So the reason why I wanted to just point this game out is because I analyzed this game on my YouTube channel. So make sure if you wanna get more insights about this awesome game that Grishuk won as well, showing everything, technique, tactics, everything, make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel. Go to the YouTube and make sure you watch the video there. I spent about 10 minutes talking about this game itself. Amazing game by Grishuk. So make sure you check that out. Definitely worth including it here. And now we jump from the Hamburg where where Grishuk destroyed the league there, and jumping into the ECC, the European Clubs Championship. That just, I think it might still be going on right now, but if most of the tournament finished last week, and I don't remember the name of the team who won the whole thing, but probably the Gasimov won, the Buar Gashimov from Azerbaijan. That's my guess. But in this game, though, Navarra completely destroyed Sadikov, playing a very unusual opening, very unusual defense, but more important, applying a tactical theme that is very unusual as well. And that was the knight trap in the middle of the game. Very cool and a very nice class by Navarra. So let's go quickly on the defense that they play, because I wanted to point out a very unusual defense that I encountered for the first time last week, which was playing some 2670 Boris Grachev from Russia. I was playing white here, and the guy instantly played bishop c5, and I'm like, what is this? I've never seen this position in my life. First time ever. It makes some sense to me. Well, this is what Navarra played, and then I thought it was a joke. I thought it was a joke, but it turns out that even Navarra played it, and Boris Grachev played it like 4 times against me on a blitz match last week. And I'm like, well, I guess I'm gonna have to take this line seriousness next time. So I played bishop f4. Actually, I didn't play bishop f4 in my game against Grachev. I decided to go knight d6 check, which I think is good. Knight d6 check is good, and he played king e7, and I played bishop f4. This is what I came up with when I was playing, and it turned out that is actually really good for white. It's very interesting. He ended up playing e5, knight f5 check, king f8, and this is exactly how we play. We play one game like that and one game like this. So this worked out well for me. I actually won one game on that position, which I think is definitely worth taking a look at. But yeah, yeah. So, but then in this game, this kid, I don't know if he's a kid, some 2500 Salikov that I never heard of with 2500 is probably a kid. Bishop 4, he plays bishop f4. The funny thing though is that after my game with Grachev, he stopped playing with me, and then I see him playing another GM, and this GM played this move that Navarra encountered. So this is probably the best and the easiest way to get an advantage here. And if I had to play this position again, I would probably go bishop f4, because look at the position white gets. I'm not gonna go that far, but this is what Navarra played, and I was shocked, because it looks like, yeah, it looks like this position is just bad for black. I mean, how can you play with a queen on d8 and the bishop on c8 like that, and this monster queen there? It's like, okay, what is this? I don't get it. Why would you 2700 play a suffering position like that? I guess maybe for surprising purposes. Who knows? Well, now Sadikov made a big mistake, and the position changes radically. Changes radically from being better to being worse. Very interesting, very quickly. So best move here is the simple, and the move that I would definitely play, castle. Controlling d6, no fears. h6, knight d4, and then white is just better. Okay, it's not that winning, but it's better. You can play f3, you can play knight c6, and f3 as well, because you have this knight f4 coming no matter what, including the move knight e8. You could play knight e8, but I still play the beautiful knight a4, and then white is supposed to be better here. It's really good. It's a good position for white. You got better pawn structure, and you have control of more space, and you have the bishop on c8. Now, it's still a lot of game here. It's not that easy. Well, Sadikov played the move queen c7, thinking, you know, I can trade queens and I'm better. So now I'm going knight d6. It looks good, but he missed this monster move d5, and this is the beginning of a very good game by Navarra. So I'm gonna go relatively quick on this with the position, what happened here, so that we get to the point, to a nice tactical thing that I mentioned in the beginning. Why, interesting enough, white should have taken this queen a long time ago, but they didn't. They delayed it, and then black kept getting even better position. So from being stuck in the bottom, now white is worse. I mean, I take black here, right? A little more aggressive. I got knight b4 ideas. This queen is kind of helping me out here to get more initiative. So white decided, you know what, before I get a worse position, or much worse position, let's go ahead and trade queens, which it makes sense. Rook fda, queen takes, knight takes. And now you need to start looking at this knight. There's a knight on a4. You know, knights are very bad on knights are very bad when they're on the side, right? Everyone knows that. And if you have a knight in the side, you should probably bring it into the center or somewhere close to the center, because that's where they are better. So, but the thing is that if you want to play knight c5 here, I go knight b4 and I start annoying you. So it's not that simple, because you're also putting the knight on the c file, which I can use later to get tempos. So why play bishop d3? Makes sense. Bishop takes, pawn takes. Now that move maybe was better to play rook takes, but I also have annoying moves like knight f4. And my goal is to not let this knight get in. So whenever you protect this, I go knight 6. And I have ideas like a6 and b5. And you notice how that knight is not going anywhere. So c takes d3, a6, simple, knight 4. And now, guys, this is the moment of truth. This is the moment where Navarra came out with the monster idea of the game. So what is white doing? Well, white is doing knight c5, knight 4. White is doing maybe knight c4, bringing the knight. Well, that's not possible because I got b5, but possibly knight c2. The thing is that white is trying to get this knight out of the game. That's the real idea here. If he can get to do that, then the position might be slightly better for black, but not enough to win. So now, what can you do here? What would you do to stop that, or to get something while white does this? Well, so a move like f5 to control this doesn't really solve the problem, because the knight gets out. So you can play b6, but then knight e6, and now the knight's in. I'm bringing my knight into the game, and my position improves, and it's probably fine, maybe even better. So that's not gonna do it. That's not gonna do it. So b6. Sorry. Any other move like I don't know, rook, maybe b5, that would still do the problem. Knight c5. Then Navarra came up with this move that is very hard to make, of course, and definitely something that even I would consider a lot, but not make it most likely because it's just so weird, right? And boom, b6 is the move, and the best move was b6, guys. That move was insane. So basically, you don't have knight c5 anymore, and I'm simply playing for the knight. I still have to do a lot of work to get that knight trap, because if I want to play b5 one day, I will have to get rid of the knight c5. But b6, come on, playing that move in this position here randomly, just decided, you know what, I'm just gonna make a tiny pawn move that relates to what's really happening. And again, that's why sometimes we don't make moves that are good because they look weird. And the fact is that you have to make moves that are good no matter how they look. If they stop what your opponent is doing, then that's what you gotta do. Yes, it feels slow. It doesn't look like a move that makes sense, especially because it's not doing anything, and especially because it creates a weakness. Now you cannot move the knight, but that's the problem. You will move the knight. You just have to deal first with this pawn. So start with b6, knight c2, makes sense. Rook b8, another very good move. Doing what? Well, protecting the pawn, and now the knight is free to move. So now you can go move your knight to whatever you need, and then well, it's not whatever you need. I want to bring this knight to a place where I can play b5. So I will go knight f4, knight e6, then b5, and that's it. The knight's trapped. Now, if you play b3, then I can play b5, and then I go knight c3 check to get the rook. So rook h e1 was played. Well, knight f4 attacks the pawn. I would have gone, if you go g3 here, I would go knight c7 and knight e6. So it wouldn't change anything. My knight was going here anyway. Rook h e1, knight f4, g3, knight e6, and now we're back into b5. So what are you gonna do? f4, trying to get some activity. If you play b5, I can play f5, right? So why not just stop it? g6. Don't let f5. Don't let anything happen. Just play g6. If you play anything that, like, yeah, it didn't change anything. Rook d2, I would go knight f4, and I would still do exactly the same. Try to go b5. So no matter what do you play, I will still do the same idea, and I will try to play b5. Yeah, you can play b3. The problem is that, you know what, when you play b3, then I change my mind. I will play b5, or I can go, yeah, I can play b5, and then once you go, actually I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna play knight 6 first. I want to kick you here. So this is kind of one of the plans. This is one of the main plans here. Now that the knight's on b2, you notice how the knight has nowhere to go. He's a horrible knight. The only chance is to go knight d1, which makes this very bad for you. I can go rook d5, and then I'm a lot more active here. So, okay, it would have been okay for white, but a pretty bad for pretty hard to hold on to. So he plays rook a1, and of course he didn't lose the knight. You see, he played b4, similar to b3. Then now b5. And then instead of going passive here, which could have been a suffering, because knight c7, and then knight d5, that would have been that's losing at the spot. It would have been the same with b3, knight c5, knight takes, pawn takes, rook d5, knight a1, rook takes, and as you can see, white lost the first pawn of the game. So this whole idea of trapping the knight combined with creating weaknesses was really cool. Very good idea of Navarra. From now on, he just basically finished it up with some really nice chain pawn structure that I think is very important, because you don't want to lose any of these pawns, and you want to create the passed pawn on c3. So the game went on, and he actually got very complex. At some point, he had to find some really strong moves. I wanna bring it back to the final position, or the most important moment, where he gets that passed pawn all the way there, and now he's got to make some really good moves to win. and the key move was h5. Now this might seem like a weird random move. Why is h5 so important? Well, let's see what happened in the game, and you're gonna see why it was important. So h5 was played. This guy made a move with the pawn, pushing the pawn. Then c2, this happened, right? Rook d3, rook takes, queen check, and now the problem is that this position could have happened with the pawn on d3 and the pawn on h7. Just think about that for a second. So imagine that we are in the same position, but the pawn is on h7 and this pawn is on d3. I would go king c2, just like you cannot really go knight 2 because king b3, right? We're gonna keep going the same over and over again. So knight 2, king d3, the nice trap, king e3, the nice trap, knight h3, king f3, and remember guys, there's an option where the pawn was here before, and now you understand why h5 is so important. And now the incredible move g5, saving the knight. I'm not sure if Navarra calculated the whole thing, but basically this incredible move h5 that he made, that was definitely not randomly made. It was made on purpose. He must have had calculated all the way from here all the way to here. So we're talking about almost 10 moves. That's pretty insane. Now the idea of g4. Now if you have the pawn on h7, let's see what happened. I can play king g2. Sorry, I can play g4. Wait, what? Does it matter? Yeah, I can play king g4. That's exactly it. So I can play king g4, then take a pawn from you on g5. So I would have had 2 pawns for a knight, and that is at least a draw. Maybe even better for in some cases it could be even better for white. But with the pawn on h5, you don't have king g4, and if you play king g2, I go g4. So this guy went d6, king f6, and this is just over. Now the knight comes to the rescue just in time, and that is the end of the game. And also guys, the end of the week, first time, and all the first you won. So very I think very instructive games, guys, and hopefully you guys learn. And I will be uploading all these videos, especially this one, to YouTube, so you guys can see the games again at any time you want. And again, we talked about the Hamburg Open, the Hamburg tournament in Europe, the European Cup of the the European Clubs Championship. We talked about the St. Louis Chess Club Winter Classic, and we talked about another tournament that I forgot. But the Blitz, the match in between Artemiev and Aronian, all very interesting and recent. Everything happened last week, so you guys are getting the latest news and the best games from those tournaments. I will see you next week for the same. Remember, every week from 6 to 8, more or less, we will be talking about the most recent, the most up-to-date games and the most up-to-date tournaments. So if you have any games that you think was amazing and I didn't include it, please let me know. I'll be happy to include it on the next segment. So hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you maybe later. I will probably go play some games online. Thanks for the cheer, Eric. And all right, guys. Good night and hasta la vista. Bye bye.